Hello there, and happy Sunday to everyone across the United States. It's not going to be so happy for those in California, unfortunately, when it comes to the weather. Hopefully, though, with the information from this video and keeping an eye on your local officials, you'll be able to remain safe throughout this significant weather event. So, let's get started with what to expect. We have a level 4 out of 4 for excessive rainfall in the Los Angeles metro and points south and east. And we're going to see a high risk in both Los Angeles both today and tomorrow. And that could even continue beyond this. But for now, these are the 2 days with a high risk of excessive rainfall. For now, it's a level 4 out of 4. So the rainfall threat mostly is going to be today, tomorrow, but that's still going to last all the way through February 7th. So we have quite a while yet of this significant impact system, this atmospheric river. We'll go over it in more detail here in just a minute. But this life-threatening rainfall, it's going to produce 2 to 5 inches of rain from central to southern California today and Monday, and then we're going to be seeing local areas of 6 to 10 inches or even perhaps above that, especially if you're in the high-risk region. So the high-risk region, the pinks that are in there, and we'll go over this in more detail soon, that's where the most danger is, but the moderate risk in particular still needs to be taken this very seriously. Once you're in the slight and the marginal risks for excessive rainfall, you're still having to watch out for flooding. That's always the case with those, but those are more run-of-the-mill. This isn't anything out of the ordinary for you. If you're in a flood-prone area, it's going to be a lot like other times when you've had flooding issues, but it's not going to be anything unprecedented or historic, unlike what's going on in the moderate and high risks, where we're seeing a pretty serious threat level. Not exactly historic, but these atmospheric rivers still are high impact, even though they do happen somewhat often. So, to sum up the flood threat before we move into more detail, considerable flash, urban, and small stream flooding is likely, especially with debris flow and mudslides being a thing, especially in that stream flooding. We're also expecting river flooding. Now, when it comes to snow, we're expecting full-blown whiteouts, nearly impossible travel about 5,000 feet into the Sierra Nevadas. This is due to snow rates that will be at 2 to 3 inches an hour, as well as wind gusts that could get over 60 miles an hour. So very dangerous travel conditions expected in the Sierra Nevadas and California. Travel could be nearly impossible, so make sure that you're preparing for that accordingly. We're going to jump into more detail about preparations more specifically geared towards flooding, but some of the advice applies to those of you in the Sierra Nevadas as well. Finally, much more marginal threat compared to these two, but non-zero. We have a damaging wind and high surf threat, so just make sure that you're taking your standard safety precautions for that. A lot of you guys know what to do over there for those things. These damaging winds could cause some power outages and down trees, and that high surf, again, making sure you're staying out of the water. That's a good idea. And making sure if you have boats on docks, things like that, you prepare that accordingly as well. So here's the weather setup. This shows you the moisture in the atmosphere. So our yellows and oranges, that's dry air to very dry air, and then our blues to greens, that's our more moist air. What you'll notice is we have these 2 very dry air masses, one near Hawaii, one to the west of the Mexican coastline, and then there's this break in the middle. It starts to break into those blues. That's our atmospheric river that's channeling moisture into California and causing a lot of our problems over the next few days. So what are the weather alerts? Mostly we have high wind watches in place for now, high wind watches and warnings stretching throughout most of the state of California. Those of you not in that, you're in winter storm warnings. No blizzard warnings in place at this time. However, I could see that changing soon. And then most of the rest of the state is in flood alerts. So the areas that are not in alerts in California, extreme southeastern California, as well as extreme northwestern California. Everyone else in the state pretty much is in a weather alert of some sort. So that's important to keep in mind, and most of the state's going to be getting significant impacts. And even if you're not in alerts, you need to be on alert for what future weather could hold as this atmospheric river event lasts well into next week. So let's take a look in more detail now at the excessive rainfall outlooks for today and tomorrow. So we have a high risk of excessive rainfall in Los Angeles today, and then that stretches to the west, all the way close to Santa Maria, and then all the way north we have that moderate risk to San Francisco. So from San Francisco to Los Angeles and Irvine and places like that, that's where we're going to be seeing our very serious flooding, especially along coastal California. Some of the Sierra Nevada still in some flooding risks there, slight risks. It's level 2 out of 4 accordingly. But I mean, a high risk, that is no joke. That means there's at least a 70% chance of rapid onset flooding occurring within 25 miles of a localized point. And I'd expect that we're going to exceed that somewhat significantly. So Los Angeles in particular, that's the area in the highest threat from this when it comes to a major metropolitan area. Santa Maria, very close by. We have another high risk tomorrow that also includes Los Angeles and points to the east. And then as we move farther south, that moderate risk stretching all the way to San Diego. So over the next couple of days from San Francisco to San Diego along the California coastline, that's where we're going to be seeing our most serious flooding threats, with ground zero, the center of the threat, going from just to the east of Santa Maria to around St. Bernardino. So that's basically what we're looking at. And Los Angeles, if there was one city I'd say was in the highest threat from this, it is Los Angeles, unfortunately, as a result of the very serious rainfall we're expecting. And that could be over an inch an hour at times. This is going to be rapid onset flash flooding. Stay tuned to your National Weather Service. They'll have flash flood alerts out accordingly. We might need to go live for this. We'll see. Probably not. But if we do, we'll let you know. You can keep track of that by looking at our YouTube community tab or joining our Discord server. Link in the description below. So how much rain are we expecting out of this? Well, Los Angeles specifically, currently 5.6 inches of rain expected by the Weather Prediction Center. Now, it should be noted, don't look at these specifics. You see 5.6. We're not going to get exactly 5.6 inches. You might, but there's enough uncertainty there we don't know. But I'd say, okay, Los Angeles, right? 5 to 7 inches of rain seems reasonable. And then as we stretch to the east and to the west, those local areas of over 10 inches of rain, those aren't far from Los Angeles or Oxnard or Santa Maria, so these totals could vary a bit, but note that most of California, especially within these excessive rainfall risks, getting over 3 inches of rain, with our highest areas getting about 10 inches. That's the notable thing to take away from this, and that's through the forecast period from February 7th at 4 a.m. That's when this forecast period ends. So this is throughout the entirety of the atmospheric river event, and it's looking like it's going to be a lot of rain for these folks, and that could cause some serious flooding concerns. Again, that's why we have that level 4 out of 4 high risk 2 days in a row in the state of California, specifically Los Angeles in it for 2 days in a row. So hopefully this isn't as damaging or dangerous as it's currently expected to be, but unfortunately it probably is going to be a significant, impactful event. So make sure that you're prepared for that, and again, we'll go into more details about how to do that in just a moment. Okay, so the winter threat, that's also serious. Extreme impacts stretching throughout the entirety of the Sierra Nevadas, from around Redding all the way down to around Bakersfield. Now, it should be noted those two in particular not going to be getting the winter weather, but you guys are fairly close to the Sierra Nevadas. And so along the Sierra Nevadas, around that geography, that's where we're going to be seeing the most serious impacts. So Susansville, Reno, South Lake, Tahoe, those are the areas that are going to be getting some of the most serious impacts from this. Bishop, if you move just a few miles to your west, you're in a lot of trouble. So major impacts, extreme impacts. If you're in either of those delineations of the Winter Storm Severity Index with this system, do not travel. Under almost any circumstances, unless it's an emergency, do not travel. That's very important. That's because we're not only getting significant snowfall of many feet being possible, but also we're going to be receiving winds over 60 miles per hour. So travel is going to be nearly impossible, nearly zero visibility. Once you get to about 5,000 feet in elevation above sea level, that's when things really start to become troublesome in the Sierra Nevadas. So how much snow are we expecting? Well, on the outer skirts of that highest contour, which is well over 60 inches, we're already seeing explicit numbers over 40. So, I mean, we could be seeing areas that get over 10 feet of snow here. 5 feet, definitely going to be in widespread fashion occurring, but we're going to be seeing lots of snowfall in the Sierra Nevadas. I would say ballpark 8 feet, probably the maximum. But I do say that we could get up to 10 feet because there is enough uncertainty there, especially with how high these snowfall rates are going to be. I would not be shocked to see a local snowfall total nearing that double-digit number in terms of the amount of snow, feet of snow in the area. It's just a fire hose of snow that we're expecting. So let's take a look now. This is the Futurecast, if you will. This is the North American model, the NAM, and this is showing us primarily the rainfall that we're expecting. And I've zoomed in here to the southern side of California, the Sierra Nevadas. You guys get these snow events a lot. And that snow is going to move out around the same time as the rain. But we have this fire hose of rain moving in and through Los Angeles, and that lasts all the way until around 4 p.m.-ish on Tuesday, with rain lingering into Wednesday. So there's just this fire hose of rain that begins in Los Angeles around 7-10 p.m. tonight, and then that lasts all day through Monday, just constant heavy rain in Los Angeles, and then we continue to see that heavy rain until Tuesday afternoon. So from tonight to Tuesday afternoon, expect constant heavy rain. That's going to be causing those flooding problems, things like that. That's why that high risk of excessive rainfall is in place. So very serious, long duration flooding event expected in Southern California. How do you prepare for that? Well, the major thing is, okay, post-flood, while that's happening, you want to stay out of floodwaters to the best of your ability. It's because of the dangers in floodwater: animals, insects, live wires, harmful bacteria, dangerous chemicals, sewage, sharp objects, and debris as well. So all those things are important to keep in mind. And then when it comes to flash flood safety, firstly, you want to get to higher ground if you're in a flash flood warning. That's very important, the opposite of what you do in a tornado warning. This is because the flood water rushes into the home. It can sweep you away very easily. 6 inches or so of water is all it takes in order to sweep you off your feet. So if you have a giant rush of water moving into your home, being at a higher level where that water is not going to get to you is important. Do not drive into the water. Cars are not going to be your friend in this situation. So please just make sure that you are being very careful with that. Turn around. Don't drown. Don't be in a situation where emergency managers can't get to you, things like that, because you can't see how deep the water is when it's on a roadway. It's very difficult to see where that road is and how deep that water is. So please turn around, don't drown, don't drive through floodwaters. That's how a lot of casualties happen. And finally, stay informed. That's through us, that's through your local National Weather Service, your local television stations, and social media as well. So make sure you're staying tuned for updates in that regard. Finally, we have a severe weather preparation video, link in the description. Now that mostly has to do with damaging winds, large hail, tornadoes, but we do have a section on flooding in there if you want additional information on how to protect yourself in a flooding situation. Well, with that, thank you so much for watching. I wish that I were doing it under better circumstances for those in California, but unfortunately we do have a long-duration, high-impact flooding event heading their way. So please, especially if you're in California or you know anyone there, send this to people that you know that could save lives. And also, on that regard, be sure to ask questions if you have them. That can be in the comment section below of this video. You can join our Discord server and ask us questions as well. We'll be happy to help you out as the situation unfolds, but we want to make sure that everyone is as safe and prepared as possible for this serious flooding event. If we're doing something right, if you like what we're doing, you can hit the like button, and you can also subscribe to this channel to get notifications so you never miss another video. With that being said, thank you again for your time and for watching this video. Please stay safe out there.